Top 5 Unspoken Ghost Stories of the Past. Number 5, the ghost ship of Coob in the 1697 in Ireland. The quiet harbor town of Coob, Ireland, awoke to an unsettling sight. A massive, tattered ship drifting silently into the bay. Its sails hung in shreds and no crew could be seen on deck. Curious but wary, a group of fishermen rowed out to investigate. As they climbed aboard, a foul stench hit them, a mix of salt, rot, and decay. The ship was eerily silent, its deck coated in grime. Below, they found the crew, or what was left of them. Bodies lay slumped in various positions, faces frozen in expressions of sheer terror. It was as if death had come suddenly, sparing no one. The crew's quarters were bizarrely intact. Meals sat untouched, rotted where they lay, and personal belongings were neatly stored. Even the cargo of spices and silks remained undisturbed. On the captain's desk, a logbook told a chilling story. The final entries, scrawled in a shaking hand, repeated one haunting phrase: "The shadows move. The shadows watch." As the fishermen explored further, they felt a bone-deep cold. Despite the summer air, faint whispers seemed to drift through the empty corridors, and shadowy figures flickered at the edges of their vision. Terrified, the men fled back to their boats, vowing never to return. By morning, the ghostly ship was gone, as if swallowed by the sea. Some claimed it drifted away, others believed it vanished into thin air. The people of Kosh spoke of a cursed vessel, its crew doomed to wander the seas forever, their restless spirits haunting the waters. To this day, fishermen tell of strange lights on the horizon and ghostly whispers on the wind, as if the ghost ship of Kosh still seeks a harbor it can never reach. The tale of the ghost ship of Coob became a maritime legend, warning sailors of the perils of the sea and the mysterious forces that could claim even the bravest crews. To this day, fishermen in Coob speak of strange lights on the horizon and ghostly whispers carried on the wind, as if the ship still haunts the waters, searching for a harbor it will never reach. Number 4, the Plague Pit. Spectorum in the 1665 in England, the Great Plague swept through London, killing over 100,000 people in a matter of months. The dead were so numerous that traditional burials became impossible, and massive plague pits were dug across the city to hold hundreds of bodies. These hastily prepared graves became sites of fear and legend. As the pits filled, strange occurrences were reported. Grave diggers spoke of eerie whispers and cold drafts, as if unseen eyes were watching them. At night, ghostly figures were seen rising from the pits, pale and shrouded in mist. Mournful wails echoed through the streets, and some claimed to see spectral forms bearing the plague's horrific marks: blackened skin and swollen buboes. One infamous tale centered on the Farringdon Pit. A man walking near it at night stumbled too close to the edge. He later claimed ghostly hands clawed at him, pulling him toward the pit. Though he escaped, he became feverish and raved about faces in the earth, before dying days later, his story spreading fear across the city. Priests attempted to bless the pits and perform exorcisms, but the sightings persisted. The specters were believed to be the restless souls of plague victims, denied proper burial and mourning. As years passed, London expanded over these graves, but the legends endured. Today, many areas in modern London, such as Charterhouse Square and Aldgate, are believed to sit atop forgotten plague pits. The chilling stories of the plague pit specters serve as a haunting reminder of the devastation wrought by the Great Plague and the lives left to linger in its wake. Witnesses described pale, shadowy apparitions rising from the pits. These figures seemed to drift aimlessly, their forms barely distinguishable from the mist that often hung over the city at night. On quiet nights, mournful cries and groans were heard near the pits. These sounds were thought to be the voices of the dead, calling out for justice or peace. Some claimed to see spectral figures bearing the marks of the plague: blackened skin, swollen buboes, and hollow eyes. These visions often disappeared upon closer inspection, leaving witnesses shaken. Around some pits, objects were said to move on their own, doors slammed shut, and icy cold spots chilled passers-by. Number 3, the Werewolf of Ansbach in the 1685 in Germany. The Bavarian town of Ansbach was gripped with fear. Livestock and pets were being savagely killed, and soon, human victims were found mutilated in the fields and woods. The villagers whispered of a monstrous wolf with glowing red eyes, a beast that hunted with unnatural intelligence. Listen, boys, the townspeople grew convinced this was no ordinary wolf. It was a werewolf. Their suspicions turned darker when they remembered their recently deceased mayor, a cruel and hated man. Many believed the werewolf was his vengeful spirit, returned to torment the town he had once ruled with an iron fist. Terrified, the villagers organized a hunt. After weeks of tracking, they finally cornered the beast in a ravine. It fought viciously but was eventually killed. When they inspected the wolf's body, its disturbingly human-like features deepened their fears. Convinced they had slain the mayor in werewolf form, they decided to make a spectacle of it. So, the villagers dressed the wolf in human clothes, complete with a wig and mask, to mock the late mayor. They displayed the grotesque figure in the town square, then burned it to the ground in the province town square, then burned the remains to prevent its spirit from returning. Yet the horror didn't end. For years afterward, strange howls echoed through the forests, and some claimed to see glowing red eyes watching them in the dark. The curse of the werewolf of Ansbach lingered, a chilling reminder of the line between man and beast, and the dangers of unrepented cruelty. Number 2, the vanishing colony of Eileen Moor in the 1690s in Scotland. A small group of settlers, fishermen and their families, made a home on the remote island of Eileen Moor, one of Scotland's Flannan Isles. Though isolated and windswept, the island's abundant fishing waters seemed promising. However, strange occurrences began almost immediately. At night, the settlers heard eerie wailing and chanting, which seemed to come from the island's ancient, abandoned chapel. Flickering blue and green lights were seen dancing along the cliffs, terrifying even nearby fishermen who refused to approach. Livestock brought to the island began to vanish without explanation, and some were found mutilated in ritualistic patterns. In December of 1697, a supply ship arrived to find the settlement eerily abandoned. The settlers' huts were intact, food sat uneaten, and tools were left in place, as though the people had vanished in an instant. Inside the chapel, the crew discovered bizarre carvings on the walls, and a stone altar stained with what appeared to be dried blood. No trace of the settlers was ever found. Theories ranged from natural disasters like a sudden storm to supernatural forces tied to the island's ancient past. Locals believed the settlers had angered spirits or sea fairies that lured them to their doom. Some suggested paranoia drove them to a tragic fate. End quote. Decades later, the island became infamous again when 3 lighthouse keepers vanished under similarly mysterious circumstances. To this day, the vanishing colony of Eileen Moor remains one of Scotland's most chilling and unsolved mysteries, with whispers of a curse that still haunts the barren isle. Number 1, the Black Monk of Pontefract in the late 1600s. In England. In Pontefract, England, a Cluniac monk committed unspeakable crimes, including the murder of a young girl. After being captured, he was hanged near what is now last rites. Denied last rites, his spirit was said to be cursed, doomed to wander the land. Soon after his execution, villagers reported terrifying encounters. A hooded figure in black robes with no face stalked the area, bringing a chilling sense of dread. An old farmhouse near the gallows became a hot spot for ghostly activity, with disembodied footsteps, objects moving on their own, and doors slamming shut. The cries of a spectral young girl, believed to be the monk's victim, echoed through the night, always followed by the ominous presence of the monk in the shadows. Even the nearby monastery wasn't spared. Ghostly processions and Latin chants were witnessed long after the monks had left, fueling rumors of dark rituals tied to the Black Monk's crimes. The area became feared, and those who ventured too close faced illness, misfortune, or worse. Centuries later, the Black Monk's sinister legacy lives on at 30 East Drive, known as one of England's most haunted locations. His malevolent spirit is believed to linger, continuing to terrify all who dare to enter. And as the shadows of the past stretch into the present, these chilling stories continue to haunt the corridors of history, reminding us that some mysteries are better left unsolved.